Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hi, family. How are you all doing? I hope you're all keeping well. Welcome and happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you are all doing well, that you are all taking care of yourselves, and that you had a wonderful weekend and are doing amazing. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. And welcome, welcome. Hey, Adriana. I hope that you had a fabulous birthday. And thank you so much for everything that you do for our community. And I pray that it was a wonderful day for you, and that as you start chapter 35, you go forward in grace and peace and in love. We love you here and we support you, and we're so proud of you. To everybody that is joining us on this live tonight, I thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me and with our family here as we continue to grow and learn about narcissistic abuse, as we evolve beyond the pain and we use our pain and give it a voice, and we put purpose to it, and we help each other move beyond this craziness that we experience that is known as narcissistic abuse. So, welcome everybody. And for those of you who are here for the first time, well, welcome and thank you for joining us. And to everybody who is catching on the replay, welcome and thank you for watching. So, how's everybody doing, and how are you all? How are you all doing? How are you all feeling? It is almost Christmas, and it is almost that time of the year where we celebrate the birth of Christ and the gift of his life. And so I hope that you all have a wonderful holiday season. Remember, holiday time is a prime time for the narcissist to hover. So keep your guard up. Do not let your guard down at all. The hover simply is a time where the narcissist wants to come back into your life so that they can continue to play game or run game on you. So don't let that, hey, what you doing? Hey, big head, I miss you text message, um, mess you up. Because at no point ever in history is a narcissist going to change. It hasn't happened yet, and it's not about to happen now. So I hope you are all doing well. Welcome, Eileen. Thank you so much for being here. Love and peace. Welcome to you. Hello, Mr. Danny. We missed you too. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Corey. And it's good that you are all here. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And welcome, welcome. And thank you so much for being part of tonight's discussion. As you can see, tonight I am talking about the toxic news supply. The toxic news supply. So listen, the news supply. At one point, we were all news supply, and I know that in some instances, people say that there is no such thing as the news supply because the news supply is the old supply. No, there is such a thing as new supply, because at one point we too were new supply. We too were new to all of this. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know what we were getting into. We met this person that we thought we could have a relationship with. Turns out we could not have a relationship with them because that's not what they were looking for. But there is such a thing as new supply. And new supply. So, how many of you have encountered the new supply, and how many of you have experienced the toxic new supply? And it's real crazy, is because sometimes what happens with the narcissist is that they misjudge a person. They may view what is on the outside and think that this would be a good source of supply. And, with narcissists, they're their worst enemy. They lack foresight, and so they tend to make poor decisions. And part of what that does is it causes them to downgrade. And if we are going to talk about toxic new supply, then we have to consider that a downgrade. Now, let me be very clear that when we're talking about this as a downgrade, we're not talking about the quality of the person. We're not talking about the appearance of the person, because people really, for the most part, cannot help that. You just are, you're blessed the way that you are. But when we talk about a downgrade, we're talking about the person's character, their integrity, or lack thereof. And so it's, what makes them who they are. What type of person are they? And so a lot of the times you find that when the narcissist makes these really quick and abrupt decisions, or they rush, because they lack foresight and because they are always on the prowl for something better. And it's real crazy. A lot of the times they have something great at home, but they just don't see it, for what it is, because they're always looking for the next best thing. They're always swiping left, right? And so they end up with what is the toxic new supply, the downgrade. And now these people end up a lot of the times being just like the narcissist. So they're either a narcissist themselves, or they have a lot of narcissistic traits. Sometimes they're just a toxic codependent. But you find with these people, and it's so crazy, is that they're very happy and very willing to do the narcissist's bidding. A lot of the times they feel like, they are the ones who can actually save the narcissist. Thank you so much, Dwayne Matthews. I thank you for being here, and I thank you for your super chats. And I just appreciate you. But this toxic supply, right? They are. No, I don't necessarily. Hold up. Let me see this comment. The new supply. Wanda says the new supply is old recycled narc twin supply, but not always is the new supply recycled. What is recycled supply is when the narcissist starts recycling. That's when they start going into their narcissistic harem and beginning to recycle what they already went through. Sometimes they truly do go out and get new people. At one point, we were all new supply. At one point, we were all new to the narcissist. We didn't know them, they didn't know us. That's how we were able to be duped, because we had no experience whatsoever with that individual. We get into the relationship thinking, oh, I've met somebody who has a lot of potential and there's a lot of promise here, and it's going to be wonderful. But what you find out is that it's nothing but an illusion. They've been mirroring you the whole time, and they're not who they said that they are. Nothing is real. Nothing is, there's no intention for them to ever be who they pretended to be, because they can't be that person, because that person doesn't exist. That person was just a reflection of who you are. But what I mean with the toxic new supplies, when they do find new people, like I know, like with my ex, went off and met somebody new. That person had never been in his life. And I can say that because I've been in his life. I knew this person, yeah, this is a new person that is behind, it's been behind your back. Sometimes the narcissist is in new environments, new jobs, new social circles. Sometimes they could be with friends, new friends, right? And they get to meet somebody new, and they're able to, start something or start a new lie, run some new game with somebody at this point. And so, that's how they start or start adding to their harem. It's important for narcissists to always have as many people as they possibly can within their harem, within their love cults. Some people like to call it the harem garage, where they're able to just go ahead and shelf people and pull them off the shelf whenever they need them, so that they can use them for whatever purposes that they have. But it's crazy because, like, listen, it's real. They really do these things. And, like Adriana just said here, like they find them also on new social media platforms. And it is really true. Like they go out scouting for new supply. When you think about a sports agent and how they go scouting for new talent for teams, and so on and so forth, this is the same thing. It's the same thing that narcissists do, except the narcissist is in predator mode, because they're looking for people to use. They're looking for people to take advantage of. They're looking for souls that they can siphon, souls that they can hunt, and that they can gather those qualities, all for that ever elusive super empath that they would be able to get that superior narcissistic supply from. That is what they are doing. And so when we encounter toxic new supply, you'll find that these are the very people who are so comfortable harassing you. Now, for those of you who have been married, you may have encountered, this new supply as somebody that, the narc may have been cheating on you with, where the supply is very comfortable, very, very comfortable calling your home, calling your cell phone, hitting you up on social media, all to let you know that, listen, I'm in the picture. And what the narc told me about you is your days are numbered, or the narc is only with you because of because of the children. And they'll do all types of things and say all types of things. And you have to understand that there is somewhat an element of truth, because the narcissist obviously told them these things about you. They're not necessarily just pulling these things out of the sky, but because they have the nerve, they have the unmitigated gall to actually get in your face, to call you and do these type of things to let you know. It says a lot about who they are. And you'll find a lot of the times that the narcissist is real cool with it. They're comfortable. They'll say stuff like, oh, well, you know what, it doesn't even matter, because guess what, these people, I mean, I can't control what they do. It's just they like me, or it's my coworker, I can't stop them. Or they may even confess to having an affair and saying it was a mistake, and it was a mistake. But they will never ever be able to correct that situation. That's something that I encountered. Like, listen, oh yeah, yeah, stuff did pop off between us, but I can't control that person. Well, yeah, you can. There's no such thing as you can't tell somebody, or you can draw boundaries for stuff like that. But narcs really are predators, and they're always seeking their new, like Wanda said, they're always seeking the next fix. They are forever ever on the prowl, looking for the next best thing. So yeah, it's crazy. But that toxic new supply is very willing to do absolutely anything and everything to do the narcissist's bidding. Now, here's the thing. One thing about narcissists is that they are forever talking about their supply. So they will always talk about you, because they use people to triangulate. So it's always, they will mention your name or mention names to make one person jealous, to, get a response or a reaction from somebody. So they'll do the whole triangulation to, to manipulate, to abuse. And so the new supply could just be reacting from that. And that's why they decide to seek you out and, pursue you. Now, a lot of the times when we talk about this, and when I'm talking about it, I'm really talking about it from an intimate relationship type of setting. But let's not forget, this happens within friendships. It happens within professional settings. It happens in families. It happens in religious organizations. It happens in every aspect of life. It happens in government. It happens everywhere. So let's not just limit it to to relationships, but understand that it happens throughout life. Listen, we live in a narcissistic society. That means every aspect of our society is full of these creatures. And, many times we've talked about how, it seems like there's a whole demonic influence behind these things. And one thing that we know is these demons work in tandem. And if it's a demonic thing, then it's going to be spread, it's going to be spread wide. And so it's not going to be limited to one area or one aspect of life. They're absolutely everywhere, just doing the raggedy most, okay, with their raggedy, dusty behinds. Like, listen, that's who they are. And so they're swamp creatures, right? And I think it's time for another swamp creature series. But let's get back to this. So listen, so you'll find that these toxic news supplies are so comfortable getting on social media to stalk children's pages. And when an adult is so crazy to the point that they will stalk your child's social media to find out what's really going on in your home, whether you're still with the narcissist or not. And they're stalking your children's social media accounts to figure things out. I mean, hello, that says a lot about their character, but also how desperate they are. And now, and it's so interesting because, like, okay, are you really that desperate that you have to stalk a child's social media account? Or are you really that insecure? Because one thing that the narcissist is doing is talking about you nonstop. Narcissist is forever going to, especially like, okay, if we take an instance where the relationship is over and they have moved on with the new supply, the discard happened and they have moved on with the new supply. Narcissists are forever talking about their exes. They are always talking about what they had. They kind of live in the past, the good old days. They always talk about what they had and what was and what they did and how great they were back in the day. And so they're always going to mention your name to and your name is, and why they do that is just to kind of for added attention and triangulation. Okay, it's going to be to make themselves appear more in demand, to make themselves for cloud for cloud purposes, just to make themselves seem important and just in more demand. So the more people that they talk about, because trust you me, it's not, you're not the only one that they're going to be talking about. Even if you are the most recent relationship, you're not going to be the only one that they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about lots of people because they want to be seen as though they are in demand and important and all of those things. And so this person has to hear it. Not just do they have to hear about you, but they have to hear about whomever else. They're going to hear about the better things about you. Of course, there are those moments where the narcissist will call you every name in the book except your own name and a child of God. They will call you every other name, and they will belittle you, they'll demean you. And these are the things that kind of embolden the new supply. But there are those moments where the narcissist will talk about all the wonderful things that you did. They'll share all the wonderful qualities that you have, and just go on and on, all to make the new supply jealous, all to elicit a response or a reaction from that person. Many of us heard this, many of us went through this, but they'll do this. They do this, and you'll find that this, now if that person is toxic, if they have a level of insecurity within themselves, they're absolutely going to look you up on social media so that they can figure you out. They want to be able to see who you are. They want to be able to have a clue on what's going on, and just to be able to determine who you are, because what you find is that they want to be able to have something to say about you. They want to be able to see that there's something, you're doing something wrong, because you can't be as great as the narcissist said that you are. And there's got to be something wrong, and so they go looking for the dirt on you so that they can go ahead and feed the narcissist that dirt. And so that's kind of one reason why that they would stalk you, why they run surveillance on you, because they're very willing and able to be the narcissist flying monkey, and so they participate in that behavior. And so it's just crazy, because it just adds another level to the abuse. My son had a girlfriend for almost 3 weeks. His mom, the narc, filled his head with BS. She had so control, and he ended the relationship. Yeah, sometimes it really just works out like that. Yeah, narcissists ruin everything for people. They'll call somebody on the phone and pretend they're calling to see how you're doing, but the real reason is to fish for information about the victim. And that's so true. Anything that they can get so that they'll be able to share that information with the narcissist. And so, this is one reason why when you're entering your recovery stage, we say to you that it's important that you go no contact, not just with the narcissist, but with potential flying monkeys. And this is where it can be difficult, because what you don't realize is that as you're getting into this relationship, the and you're floating in cloud nine and you're enjoying everything. What the narcissist is doing is, because they're steps ahead and they know that this relationship is an illusion. They know that it has an expiry date. They know that they are not real and they will not be real, and that you're only fulfilling a specific function, that once they are done siphoning your soul, they're out. So what they're doing is now preparing for the next stage of the relationship, and that would be the discard. So what they're doing during this season or during that phase is actually reaching out to your inner circle, to your friends, to your family, to potential flying monkeys, and feeding them, with information about you and what it's like to be in an intimate relationship with you, and all the drama that you're causing and how difficult it is to be with you, so that when they do walk away from the relationship with you, it's easier for them to discredit you. It's easier for them to convince people that you're the problem. And so people tend to turn away from you and side with the narcissist, thus isolating you and making you feel like you truly were the problem, and further victimizing the victim. And this is why this thing is so insidious. But, and they all just end up being the narcissist flying monkey. So it's difficult when you have to, look at people who are your friends, who are your inner circle, and realize that you actually have to cut some of them off. But it is essential and it is necessary for your healing so that you can move forward and begin to recover and, be able to live your life. I'm going to take a look at this comment from Rodney. He says, thanks again for giving me clarity and actually a look at my reality. Every time I think about it, I smirk. Lesson learned. There are some hard lessons that we learned, from this process and, moving forward. But one thing I will say about this, these experiences is it does awaken us up to what is around us, and it forces us to not just look at all our other relationships and evaluate them, but more so it forces us to look within ourselves and ask ourselves some difficult questions, because that's where our true healing comes, when we're able to start like, why did this happen? Why did it happen? Why did I ignore these red flags? And why was I okay with ignoring them? And we have to start answering those questions. And we have to be truthful with ourselves if we want to be done with, these type of relationships and never encountering them again. Because sure enough, once you sniff out these narcissists and once the narc actually sprays on you, you are going to be a magnet for other narcs. You are going to draw them in because that narc fragrance or that stench is around you. Now, even though you may cleanse yourself, these creatures have an awareness that who you are, and so they will always come back. They will always try to come back. They will always you will always find that you tend to draw these type of people. But because you yourself have done the work, you've done the work that you have to do so that you can heal, you're able to spot them out fairly quickly and move on without having to go through the whole process of being indoctrinated, because it's in the indoctrination where there's the pain, where there's the lessons and the hurt and the shame and all of that, all of those negative feelings that come from that. And it's because, we're blindsided, we don't see it, but there's an awareness that we get from that. So I want to highlight this comment because I love to celebrate no contact. So Chris Cantor, congratulations on 38 days of being no contact. I love you too, and I hope that you continue to enjoy better days and that you continue to get stronger and that you enjoy success as you go forward and that you do get to that heavenly version of yourself. So we celebrate you here and we're so proud of you and we wish you the best as you continue to journey forward. And one thing I want to highlight to you is that when we see the narcissist with a new supply, please do not ever convince yourself that they're doing better. Don't ever believe what social media is showing you, because social media is forever going to be fake. As far as the narcissist is concerned, you have got to take your eyes off of that. And again, this is part of that no contact. When we say no contact, it also means blocking them on social media so that you do not see them and so that the flying monkeys do not tag you in anything. They don't send you screenshots. They're just denied that access because listen, the narcissist you'll find that they will enjoy posting. When they have somebody in their life, they cannot wait to share that information. They cannot wait to post it because it's, the narcissist is in a hurry to put up some information that says, hey, look, I've got somebody new. I'm not the problem because somebody else wants me. And so now you're looking because you're still nursing your wounds. In fact, before you can even nurse your wounds, a lot of the times you're asking yourself like, hold up, wait, what just happened? What did I just experience? Because nothing makes sense. And so, while you're still in that moment, they're already posting up with somebody else all over social media. They're already, I'm so in love. Everything is so wonderful. And you just see the dreamy eyes and you just see them looking like they are just so good, like they're so happy and just doing amazing stuff together. It's not true. The narcissist is forever going to be the narcissist. They have never at one point in their lives had an epiphany and said to themselves, I'm changing. I'm going to become a different person. I'm going to become a better person. And I'm very confident of this. I'm very sure of this. You can even, I'm willing to to write this check and let you cash it. They have never done that. I don't care who the narcissist is. It's just something that they don't do. One thing that we can never do is underestimate the power of narcissistic supply. It is absolutely everything to them. It is everything to them. They have this deep-seated shame that governs them, and that's why they have to create that false persona. They have to create that fake person so that it hides that shame, and that's why they can come up as so grandiose, and that's why they can be so prideful. But one thing about pride that you must remember is that pride goes before the fall. So when you see them up living that prideful life, when you see them up posted and having a wonderful time, listen, they are having they're lying to you. Hold up. It looks like some people are posting their no contact dates. So hold on. I've got the power of she. Hi, Miss Joy. I have been 1 year, 3 months, no contact, and 1 year divorce anniversary on December 18th, 2020. Thank you. You are so welcome, and congratulations to you. I know Corey said 90 days of no contact. So congratulations, everybody. Hey, Crystal, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Everybody, this is the Relationship Chick. She talks about self-love, and she also has a Christian perspective on self-love and self-awareness and self-discovery. Her channel is also here on YouTube. This is a dear friend of mine. Thank you for joining me, Crystal. And so, listen, congratulations to everybody on being no contact and really rocking it out and bossing it, because being no contact is really how we break that soul tie. That's how we break that trauma bond as we go forward. Hey, Danny, we've been celebrating you 23 days no contact, and this is so amazing. And we're so happy that you got to this point, that she has left and it is over for real now. So congratulations, everybody. But I was talking about, what was I talking about, y'all? I was talking about the importance of no contact. And then, yeah, listen, sis doesn't remember anymore. So we're just going to pick up from wherever. But like, listen, congratulations, everybody, for being no contact. Hello, Uniquely Made. Welcome. Thank you for joining tonight. But like, listen, okay, they're never skipping off into the sunset. And I was telling you how confident I am that the narcissist is not changing for the new supply. And here's how I know this. At one point, you were the new supply. Let me ask you this question. Did the narcissist change for you? No. What about the person that was there before you? At one point, they too were the new supply. Listen, at one point they were new to the narcissist, whether they got recycled, whether they are for the current forever supply. At one point, they truly were the new supply. Did the narcissist change for that person? No. And there have been several people prior to that. Did the narcissist change for any one of them? Absolutely not. The narcissist will not change for anybody. And here's the thing. Change, for them to change, it has to be something that they want for themselves. You don't change for a person. For change to be truly lasting, there has to be a reason that is grounded in you. It's like saying, like, I'm going to find happiness when I get married. No, if you're unhappy single, you're going to be unhappy married. You're going to have to find happiness in your singleness, in your single season, so that when you are happy, when you get married, it just kind of flows into that season of your life. You don't just slide into, you don't just shift into one season of life unhappy and then become happy because your status changed. So just because they changed the person, it's not going to be better. They are still going to be the same raggedy, dusty behind. They are still going to be the same swamp water carrying swamp creature. They are who they are. They are not going to change for the new supply. And one thing with the narcissist and with narcissism, it gets worse over time. So as they age, they get worse. And so every day that goes by, they're getting older. None of us are getting younger. It doesn't matter how young you are right now, you're actually getting older. And so they are going to get worse over time. And so you'll find that, while of course they are going to go through the love bombing phase, they'll get to the devaluation eventually. How long that takes is none of our business, but they get there. But when they post up these pictures, please don't believe that it's everything, because all the narcissists, everything that they are concerned about is about staging appearances. It has to look a particular way. All of it has to look a particular way. There is nothing real there. There is nothing. Hold up. Hello, Catherine. So she says he's in a new relationship and tatted his arm with a star being holding the world, which is what he now used to tell me. Yeah, he is psychotic. They're all psychotic. Every last one of them. If they're narcissists, they're crazy. Each and every last one of them. But what was I saying? That, hey, Saldridge, how are you? But take your eyes off of the new supply, because all of that is orchestrated to hurt you. A lot of the times you find that the narcissist actually does get somebody who they know will be able to further manipulate you. And that's part of the abuse. That's part of what they do. And it's like getting, two birds with one stone. They're able to get what they want from that person, but they also are able to reap that benefit from you. So they get narcissistic supply from them and you. Hello. And so, as crazy as it is, you've got to not focus on it. And as difficult as that can be, and listen, I'm talking from experience. I know that it's not easy, but you've got to take your eyes off of that. When you're not looking, and you're not hearing, you can't be affected, and don't allow your mind to wander, because you got to know that your mind is so powerful. And when a narcissist targets you, they target your mind. And that's why you have to think your way through this abuse. You can't feel. You can't be driven by emotion, because when the narcissist comes into our lives, it's our minds that they assault, not our emotions. It's not our hearts. It's not our feelings. It's the mind. They come in with deception. They're painting a particular picture. So it's our thoughts that are deceived. They change the way that we think. They paint a perception, and it's our thoughts that carry it forward. And so you've got to reprogram the way that you see things, the way that you think, the way that you're thinking about yourself, the way that you're perceiving everything. Because even with the narcissist, there's so much subconscious, there's so much that they feed into your subconscious that is completely toxic and venomous to you, that you have to, it's imperative that you begin the process of reprogramming your brain so that you don't carry on like that, So, don't believe what you're seeing, because I've shared it in one particular video about, with the new supply. Now, I guess we're going to do a little story time, because, a lot of people don't believe that it doesn't work, or, that the new supply is or that the narcissist does not change with the new supply. They do. So now here's some story time. So, new supply. While I was still, trying to seek the Lord, praying and fasting for this marriage to work, the new supply would call, she would harass, she would name call, and all of those things, to say, oh, well, he doesn't really want you, this and that. And the narc would be happy, because I was so in the dark about what was happening. I didn't know. And I just, sometimes we're really in that place of confusion from all the fog and, just being caught up in our emotions. That's why I say, like, we've got to get to the point where you use your minds to come out of these things, because that's where the assault is. So you've got to use your mind. My emotion, I was wrapped up in my emotions, God bless you, Maria, and thank you so much. You got to use your mind to come out of these, to come out of this. But she would call all the time and do all the harassing and say all the things, against me, against my children, and that type of thing. And finally, things ended the way that they did. And I guess after maybe about their first year into the relationship, she reached out to me and she asked me some questions about him. And for a moment I was like, the first time she reached out to me, she asked me, she was like, is are you the one that he calls at 3 in the morning in the bathroom when he's in the bathroom? And I was like, oh, and I was just like, I wanted to take the conversation a different way. But at that point, I was so past all of it. I was just like, no, I'm not the one. And, I could hear the hurt in her voice because it would almost be like it would be better if I was the one he was talking to, because at least she knew who it was. She could put a face to it. She could kind of figure it out. And it would be better because maybe she could talk to me. Maybe she could, woman to woman. I don't know. But, I don't know, but it wasn't me. There was somebody else. Like how many times do we talk about these creatures are pathological cheaters? They are loyal to nobody but themselves. And this is what she was learning. And, I shared what I thought, like, this man is who he is, and you already know, and it's in your best interest to just move on. I told her that, I gave her my best advice and I left it alone. I wasn't going to entertain, I wasn't going to say too much. And then fast forward to just a few months ago, so some years later, and it was actually while Tanya and I went live, and we were doing a live together, and I was getting calls, and I didn't, respond until the following day when it was now even worse. Now, mind you, I've shared with you how abusive my ex-husband was and how he actually was arrested for that. And she's the one who supported him in jail. And funny enough, she was sharing with me on our last call how he beat her up while she was pregnant. They don't change for the new supply. They get worse. They get worse. There's so much that I could say about what that relationship has been because she shared so much. And I mean, this is a woman who has children with, they have a child together now, but she has children before him. She had children before him. And you've got to understand that those children get to see this happen. They got to see their mom prior to him being in their life and who she was. But now they get to see her now that he's in her life and the damage that that causes to those children. And, the new supply, one reason why they are also toxic is they really believe that they can be this person's savior. They look at it like you didn't love them enough. You didn't do enough. You didn't care enough. You weren't there enough. You weren't supportive enough. It's all a lie. A person has to want to make the change themselves. You can't love them whole. Our assignment, again, we are not Jesus Jr. We are not here to crucify ourselves and give up our lives that they would, do whatever they're going to do. That's not our assignment. These people have to want to get the help for themselves, but that's something that they don't want to do. And so we can't want it more, but that's something that they've convinced themselves, and they always convince themselves that they are able to do. And there's nothing that we can do about that. We just allow, you share the truth. When they come to you, share the truth and let the, and move on. But it's not also our assignment to warn the new supply. You can't go out and start telling them that, hey, this is who you're messing with and this is what he did to me, because you have to remember that this person has been already told about who you are. They've been told how toxic and how everything that the narcissist did to you, they flip it and say that it's you who did those things to them. And so, they shift the roles and now they're the victim and make you look like the bad one. And so, it kind of like works against you, because if you do uninvitedly go and start telling them these things, then naturally it looks like you are everything that the narcissist said that you are. And you're doing everything that they said that you would do. And so it's in your best interest not to do that, because you're already being called crazy and you don't want to be the one presenting that interest. But when they come to you, it's up to you. You can decide if you want to tell them the truth. But you do really do get that toxic new supply. But you, again, don't believe the lies, don't believe the hype. It is all a lie, it is all a show, it is all dramatics to make you feel like you're missing out on something. The truth of the matter is, when the narcissist leaves our lives, that is like the biggest blessing that we can get, because you're stuck, you become stagnant. There is nowhere that you can go, there is nothing that can be birthed out of your life, there is no purpose that you can attain when you have these creatures in your life. Because many times we see them called energy vampires. And I know there's many times when I would look at when I'm with my ex and I'm like, we were together and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look terrible, I look like I'm so much older than I am. And he was just looking like looking good and all those things. But it's funny how when the supply gets away, it's like there's a shift, because that source is cut. And now it's like, okay, things are different. You get your life back and you get your bounce back. You change and you start to look great and you start to feel great and you start to, be who you are. And then they just become who they who they should be, because they've been, it's almost like they age overnight, because that supply has been cut off and they don't have access to it anymore. It's like, like when Jesus cursed the fig tree and he said, it cursed it to die at the root and it dried up immediately. That's what happens with them, and so that leads me to this. We go back to the conversation, then are these people really, is NPD really a disorder, or is it something more? If they're able to suck your energy to that extent that the moment you move away, they change, there's a visual change, they shapeshift. Listen, they shapeshift again. The moment that you remove that energy, the moment that energy is denied to them, the moment they can't get that access, there's a change. And that change doesn't happen until you start to do the work, until you start to heal, until you start to recover. And why it happens that way is because you're reclaiming your identity. And that's the thing with the narcissist. They come in to siphon your soul because they need your soul so that they can go ahead and gather more narcissistic supply. Because as an empty shell, what can they bring to the table? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so, that's why I just can't get with it. I know, I don't know. I can get with the whole that this is a mental disorder. And I was kind of like, it's weird that we're here, but we kind of here right now. So we might as well talk about it since we're here. Because I was like I had been trying to work on a video prior to coming on this live. I was trying to record a video that I wanted to premiere tomorrow. And it was really NPD, or is it demonic possession? And, I was just like I was really struggling with recording that video. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to come and do it on Sunday as a live. But since I've mentioned it and we're talking about it now, so let's just talk about it and let's get on with this thing. One of the things I was reading earlier on today that was talking about this was from the MayoClinic.com, and what it said about the prevention of narcissistic abuse is that there's little that can be done to prevent not narcissistic abuse, but narcissism, or NPD. There's little that can be done to prevent NPD because there's little that is known about how it is caused. And I found that pretty interesting, because how many times, how many videos have you watched? How many articles have you read that talk about this thing actually being formed in childhood because these people have had a traumatic childhood. And so I was kind of like, it's interesting that they would say that, because at the Mayo Clinic, there's some smart people. And so I'm sure that they would, have some information about what this is as far as, a mental disorder. And that just goes to show that there's still so much that they don't know on that side. But there's also a lot more that they don't want to talk about. And I think, we want to talk about this, and I want to talk about it. And I think it's important that we do talk about it, because I do believe, me personally, I believe it's demonic possession. I believe there's a lot of evidence that speaks to this. And so, we can have the conversation, because one reason why I have to say that there is demonic possession here is because, for one thing, when narcissists experience narcissistic rage, normal people, we get angry, we lose our tempers, but in no moment or in no time that we lose our tempers do our eyes change. Like, whose eyes just go pitch black? How many people have had how many people, have experienced the narcissistic stare? Their eyes go pitch black. That's not normal. And I mean, like, how does that happen? Okay, how does that happen? I don't know. How does it happen? Or how do their faces contort the way that they do, that they almost look animalistic? Like, it's not like, it's not like a normal person. Like, it can almost take on identical features of a serpent, of a snake, of, these creatures. Like, listen, and you have to, and it's weird that there's so many of us who have experienced this from all over the world. Like, from all over the world, there's so many of us who have experienced this. Our experiences are identical. It's like we dated the same person. For some people, it's like you were raised by the same parents. For some people, it's like, it's just the same person. It's like it's never the same people. So how is this possible? How is it possible? There's really little to no variation. And and Uniquely Made makes this comment that not all narcs have a traumatic childhood. And I want to talk about this for a moment, because let's just say that there is an element of a dramatic childhood, right? Many of us have had dramatic childhoods. I did. Many people have. But we all don't become narcissists. So what is it that makes one person go this way and one person go that way? What is it? And one thing that I wanted to mention is that, when these things happen, like, okay, when a child experiences trauma, now, to a child, anything that is traumatic, or any trauma to a child, really is something that they cannot process. They just don't have the means internally to process a particular event or circumstances in their lives. And so that's what defines trauma for a child. So for different children, it could be different things. But when it, so what I know, and this is where I was like getting lost in making this video, is that, when it comes to the spiritual realm, nothing can exist on earth. Nothing can exist in the earthly realm unless it is given legal access. So even when God wanted to bring redemption to his people, when he wanted to bring Jesus Christ on earth so that he could redeem his people back through Christ on Calvary's cross, he had to do it through the womb of a woman. He had to go through Mary. Legal access was granted through Mary's womb. And so for these entities to gain access, because even when we talk about the narcissist as a demon, I think we have to remember that these are actually people. They're created by God, but they've given themselves up to be used, and there had to be a loophole. They had to be an opening that would allow this evil to enter them. So for a moment, I, to a degree, I can agree that yes, probably they may have been it's something traumatic. We can talk, that's where there's those childhood traumas like the sexual assaults, the domestic violence in the home, the drugs, the alcohol, any of those things can create a perfect environment for these things to happen, right? But what happens is now a legal loophole, legal access is granted to the enemy so that he can enter in, because you don't find demons just showing up discombobulated like hello. They actually have to come through a person. And so that's how they'll get legal access. And so, hello, Christy makes a great point. I like this. I'm glad we're having this conversation. Cain and Abel. Cain was not traumatized. He was not. He was just born that way. And some of these people are just born that way. But, there was access that was granted, and that jealous heart, that intention, a person's heart, a person's makeup, the things that they come into agreement with. These are all different ways that, access is granted. And so, at the end of the day, they've allowed this to happen, and they're in agreement with it every single day, because they have moments, they have opportunities to say, listen, I don't want to participate in this anymore, but they choose not to. They absolutely choose not to, and they walk away from it. And they don't, they walk away from that opportunity, and they continue to remain in that abusive state. They continue to work towards darkness. They continue to manipulate. They continue to use. They continue to do the evil that they do. And now, when we're talking about this, we're talking about narcissists, but we can also look at the psychopath and the sociopath and the type of crimes that these people commit. I mean, for when you consider some of the stories that you hear, sometimes it's what you hear on the news, sometimes you read about it in the paper, sometimes it's what you've heard in your own life, sometimes it's in your life, it's your own experience, and you're able to say this can't be normal. Normal people don't do these type of things. What is really going on within this person? Corey says it's possible as light and dark is possible. The Bible has its teaching. The man is the dominant, the woman is him as well, that listens to false gods. Narcs are, thank you for sharing that, Corey, and it's true. Love and Peace says narcs are cruel, calculated, and extremely vindictive, a dangerous combination of traits. And it's this type of vindictiveness that is crazy. And one thing why I refuse. Hey, Namika, thanks for joining. And yeah, it's not normal at all. You know what's so crazy is when they say that this is a medical or mental disorder, right? And they will tell you that it's a lot of this is rooted in pride. Now, pride is something really interesting, because it's pride that had Lucifer kicked out of heaven. And Lucifer kind of seems like their father, because their qualities just seem to line up. I'm just saying. But they're so prideful. So if you're telling me that this is a mental disorder, and one of the driving forces behind it is pride, how are you going to cure pride? I'm just curious. How are you going to cure pride? Because pride is more like, is more on the spiritual side of things. I'm just saying, and I don't know, but I just know that this thing is not, I just can't see it as being purely a mental disorder. Now, let's be clear that there are mental disorders out there that we don't want to take away, the discussion or the importance or the severity of those sicknesses, because some of them truly are real. But this one right here, nah, these ones, it's yep. I saw your comments. I saw them, Namika. It's crazy, from everything. Narcissists, from the shape shifting, from how they're able to sniff you out, from how they kind of just know, the right time to hoover you, from how they know. how they know these things, how like when you're sleeping and they start speaking into you, how just these crazy things that they just know. And that's because these demons work in tandem. And when it comes to, okay, so when it comes to, like, you know how there's a whole discussion about the covert narcissist, the overt narcissist, the malignant narcissist, all of these things. This is my take on it, right? um this is my take on it. When it comes to narcissistic abuse, right, when it comes to these titles and these classifications and all of those things, I take it away. And you know, that's why I've been asked to do videos on the covert narcissist. I've been asked to do on the overt. I don't do those videos. And I'm going to explain why. You know, a narcissist is a shapeshifter. Lucifer is a father of light. The narcissist plays a role to be who they need to be at a particular moment in time. The father of light presents himself as who he needs to be at any given moment. So if at any particular moment in time, right, this narcissist has been covert with you, but now they need to switch gear. Guess what? Their father of light is going to notify them, like, hey, son, hey, daughter, I need you to move things around and become more malignant right now. And so they are able to change. So they just switch up. Like, I mean, they play different roles, different hands, different cards. Narcissists, just like they are different people, they're different people to different people. They're different people to different targets. They're different people to different fuel sources. So for some, you'll find that they'll be more malignant, some they'll be more covert. Like the last person, the psychopath that I dated, he never was violent with me at all. I didn't see the violent side of him. But the stories that I heard about him after we broke up, I couldn't believe this was the same person, on how he treated people, how he would be so abusive, how he would treat his pets, how he would beat his pets. I didn't see that part. He never was that way with me at all. They're always going to be who they need to be with different people. Don't forget, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Their father is the you know, is a he changes. He's an angel of light. He becomes different things for different seasons. And so for me, I'm always going to look at the overt, the covert, the malignant. They're always going to change and be whoever they need to be at any given thing. Oh, Be Set Free, you just did a video on that. Okay, everybody, Be Set Free said I just did my last video on this. I'm making a note to go check this out as soon as I get done. I'm going to share it on the community board when I get done, and we can all watch your video, because I'm looking forward to hearing what you had to say. But, you know, that's just how they are. They're always going to change. So for me personally, you know, I don't see myself ever coming to the point where I would, you know, be concerned about what type of narcissist they are. I mean, I understand that there are different rankings when it comes to demons. And so I would be more concerned when it comes to that. You have your lower ranking demons and you have your higher ranking demons, you know, and your ranking in the spirit is going to determine the type of demons that you encounter. So as you grow up and you mature in the spirit, you're going to encounter different demons. Remember, you know the saying, for different seasons, different demons. That's because in different seasons you're growing, and so you're not going to go from you don't go to a different season without. You have to graduate to get to the next season, and so with your graduation comes a different type. And so there's another type that you would have to overcome. So I'm not worried about is it overt, is it covert? I need to know what minion I'm dealing with, because when you know what minion you're dealing with, then you can attack that. And that's what we are trying to attack, because I couldn't care less what psychology decides to call them, because that's not what I'm fighting. What I'm fighting is what's inside of that person. That's the enemy. And so that's who you target. That's who you fight. That's who that's who your battle is with. And that's where your focus should be. if you ask me. And so, I think that's, just something for you to consider. Thank you, Marcelo. And you level and you devil. That's right. Thank you. And so, that's how it goes, though. That's how it goes. Um, that's how it goes. So I think it's important that we really do, we become more mindful about this, because really your ranking is going to determine what you're going to encounter. A lot of times you find people say the devil's after me, but I want to remind you that the devil isn't out here after all of us, and we are out here giving him credit for things that he's not trying to do to us. He's sending these low-level minions to us that you have already been given the power to tread upon, that the weapons of your warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty through God to the pulling down of those very strongholds. So what you've got to remember and what you must know is that, when it comes to the devil, he's the highest in there, in the kingdom of darkness. He's the highest. It's his kingdom. And he came after very few people in the Bible. Look, he came after Adam and Eve in the very beginning, because that was the foundation of mankind. It was the start. It was the very beginning. He came after Adam and Eve. He came after Job. Think about Job, what the Bible said about him. He was an upright man, loved God. He was, he was honest, and he feared God. I mean, Job is described as one of the most loyal men in the Bible. He went after Job. And then we find him going after Jesus when he came out of the wilderness, when he came out of the 40 days and 40 nights of fasting, and he tempted him. There were 3 times. 3 times in the Bible. So why suddenly the devil is coming after us? He's not. It's his minions. So that if we're able to recognize this and recognize super empath, that the power is already in you. And that is why you have full authority to take that thing down. It's already been given to you. The word says that he will make the enemy your footstool. And I also want to remind you that there's a scripture that says, what is going to be already has, basically saying that, whatever is going to be is already. So he already is, your enemy already is your footstool. You just have to activate your faith. Remember when Moses was up against the Red Sea? Pharaoh and his army was chasing them, and they were like, oh my gosh, Moses, what am I going to do? Moses didn't know what to do, but he had to think. What is in your hand? Activate your faith. And he used the stick, and that's what parted the Red Sea. And so you've sometimes got to ask yourself, what am I holding on to? And, are you holding on to your faith? What about your faith? How are you going to use that to help you get out of whatever it is that you're facing? How are you going to make that relevant in your life to help you come out of what you're dealing with? There is a way that has already been provided for you. You just have to take it. But never, ever feel that narcissist creature, that swamp creature, is more powerful than you. Mm-mm. That creature targeted you. Remember, just like Job, right? Remember with the story of Job, when they were saying that, Job was this, Job had everything that he needed. And Job was, he was well set in his ways and in his faith. And he was, he just knew what he could, who God was to him. You've got to know who he is to you. And you've got to be loyal in your relationship with him, because look at flying monkeys. And I'm calling Job's friends flying monkeys because they came in and they actually told him, well, maybe you're the problem. They ended up getting rebuked. And so sometimes you've also got to be careful with the company that you keep in these seasons, in these moments where you're going through these, these valley moments. And I'll call it a valley moment because it's not the peak of our lives. It's not where we feel the most powerful. It's not where we feel the most, it's not where we feel like we're strong. We feel weak. We feel alone. We feel confused. We feel frustrated. We feel isolated. We feel rejected. We feel denied. We feel we just feel a lot of negative thoughts in these moments. And, and you just, you're looking for so many answers in that valley moment. And then Job's friends were there saying, Job had lost everything, absolutely everything. His wife was telling him, curse God and die. And his friends are telling him, oh, like, you're the problem, Job. You're not telling us the full story. You did something not right with you. Otherwise, this God, no. Be careful with what's going on in your ear and know what you know about yourself. And what's true about you is who God says you are. That's unchanging. That's unchanging. What changes is what we tell ourselves about ourselves. And what other people are going to say about you, that's noise. But what you know about you, hold fast to that. Hold fast to the truth. And that's why, like, I encourage you more than anything is to dive into the word. There is no way that I came out of this thing the way that I did without the word. There's no way. There is no way. I would be lying to you. I wouldn't be telling the whole truth. I had to be in the word. I had to be on my knees and on my face, crying and praying. And that is where I got my relief. That is where I got my breakthrough. That is where I found peace. It was in his presence. And you have to be willing to get naked. And when I say get naked, I don't mean like, strip off all your clothes, but I really mean bare your soul before him and be unashamed and say, I need you. I need you to help me process what I'm going through. I need you to help me make it make sense, because listen, the word tells us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And so if we know that things that we're going to encounter, even though we may see flesh and blood in front of us, just because it's a person, we can't allow what they tell us is a mental disorder to become our reality, when we know that there are so many people across the world that are fighting and dealing with this day in and day out, that we have to sit back and accept it for what they say it is. No, they're saying what they wanted to say. And I'm curious which one of them that decided that this is what it is. Are you the narcissist? Are you the narcissist that is trying to make it okay to continue to victimize people with this whole healthy narcissism that you now want to put out there also? Like, I'm curious. I'm curious. Like, we need answers. We want answers. I don't know, guys. I'm just saying, like, I refuse. I don't believe for one moment that, this is what they say it is. I don't. I believe we know the truth because we've experienced it. And Love and Peace makes such a great point. She says psychologists don't know since they did not experience this. And this is not to take away from them professionally, because I do believe that their profession is important and it is needed. However, why do their, why is it that we're able to help each other more in our recovery than when we go to them? Why? Unless they've lived it, unless they have an awareness of it, or unless, they're willing to open up their minds to it, they usually do more harm than good. And that's the sad part, the tragic part about this. And so, it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me, that it really does. I mean, it really is what it is when it comes to this demon. And, like I was saying to you earlier, there are different types of demons and different types of minions. We know that so many people talk about this as being the spirit of Jezebel. But when you have a spirit, anytime you have a spirit of Jezebel, there's a spirit of Ahab somewhere nearby. But this is not just about the spirit of Jezebel, because remember, we just discussed that. I just mentioned to you how the devil isn't after you. The devil goes for high ranking individuals, and most of us here don't rank that high in the realm of the spirit. So for some people, there will be a Jezebel spirit assigned to you. For other people, I believe it will be a Leviathan spirit. For some, it will be a succubus or an incubus spirit. But it is the entire demonic world, the marine spirits, the territorial, your familiar, all of them, every last one of them at work in tandem to make this thing possible for the kingdom of darkness. No, I do not believe that this is the disorder that they say it is. I do full heartedly believe that this is demonic possession. Why? Because of how we see it manifest in the way the narcissist is able to shapeshift, because of the way they are able to contort their faces, because of the way their eyes turn black. And if anybody has ever had an encounter with a demonic entity, or whether you've been able to see it with yourself, I mean, with your own eyes, or you've seen how they are presented on TV with the black eye, that is exactly how the narcissist's eyes change. I mean, how does this happen to a human being? How do your eyes just completely go go black? Yeah, I had a psychiatrist say that they can change. I disagree, and I agree with you. I don't agree that they can change. I do believe that with God, all things are possible. I will go on record as saying that. However, that person has to want the change. But this is where it's so problematic for a narcissist is that grandiose, that pride, it keeps them from ever changing, from ever wanting to change, because they're so fine right where they are. And they're so far down the line, in the indoctrination in the kingdom of darkness, that it's no longer working with them. The longer a person dabbles with certain spirits, the longer you allow them to continue to live and be at work and move and breathe within you, the more infestation happens. And so, it's just something that's going to continue to breed and continue to filter and continue to grow. And so, it doesn't get better. Here's Ashley says a really good point, and you remind me of something. Ashley says they can't repent, and I have to agree. And it's so sad that we're actually having this conversation where we are saying that they can't repent, and it actually really hurts my heart, because we know what the word says about this. That we have to have a repentant heart, and to repent means to really like ask for forgiveness, but also to turn your ways, like to do a complete 180 and no longer do those things. They can't. They really cannot do those things. They can't do that. And for me, a lot of times people want to look at, or there's so much discussion about the narcissist's karma. But if you have a heart that has been hardened and you cannot repent, if your heart is that of Pharaoh, there's no worse karma for you. I mean, like, there is no, that is the karma right there. And so many of you know that, I go and I volunteer in hospice, and I'll spend some time in, doing hospice, and through various families and talking to families and getting to know their loved one through them, or even sometimes I'm fortunate enough to speak with a loved one and get to know through their own words and through their own actions who they are before they slip into a state of unconsciousness. And you can kind of see, I'm never going in that moment, trying to say, oh, are you a narcissist? That's the last thing on my mind, because truly, when I know, like, because I don't just like get these assignments just like this and I rock up. It's usually like I just kind of have a feeling like, you're gonna get a hospice thing, and I have no way of knowing, but it just drops in my spirit, and I start to prepare myself for the process, because being there for the final moments of somebody's life is so difficult, and it's very draining on you mentally, emotionally, physically. It is exhausting. It pulls every part of you. So I spent some time preparing myself for that. And so I'm not even concerned about, what are they? What I do want to know is, are you saved? So we can talk about that. But, I get there and you can just sense and you can know, certain things, and you can get a feeling of what's going on there. But they always reveal who they are. And I won't really be thinking about, again, I won't be thinking them whether they have NPD or what, but the traits immediately come out. It's like they can't help themselves. And once the mask slips, and it never fails, the moment that mask slips, it's like, you know, I don't get that moment with them to say, okay, well, like, I don't get to, offer any salvation. I don't get to have that conversation with them. It just never, it just, no matter what or how, even if I think to myself, like, maybe I should have done this differently, there's nothing that I can do in those moments when, I always will offer prayer and all of, they are always denying. They don't want it. And they will let you know, no. And so, right up to the end, to the very end, they want to be, they want to be who they are. And it's crazy because they know that their end is there, and they can sense it, and they can feel whatever is on the other side. A lot of the times, they start to see, and they start to, and as they slip further away, or it's not even that, as their body, because there's really a separation. As their physical body dies, their spiritual one awakens. And as much as the spiritual one awakens, they become alert to what's going on in that spiritual realm. And a lot of the times you can hear them, or they start talking about what they can see. You'll hear them talk about, for people who are having peaceful transitions, they see angels, and they see loved ones, and they are happy, and they can't wait to go. They can't wait to go. I remember one man saying, "Can you see my wife? She looks so beautiful." And he could not stop looking at her, at where his wife was. And he just said, "I can't wait to be with my wife. She is so beautiful." And, they're like, oh, their eyes light up, and there is so much peace and excitement and anticipation. But it is so frightening. Like, y'all, I'd be scared. Like, and I'm being honest with you. Like, I am legit scared in those moments. And I'll be like, God, don't leave me right now. I'll be doing all kinds of prayers, and I will be there. Psalms 91 in my whole life, the whole time, like just reciting that Psalms, because, it is so frightening in those moments because of the terror that they're experiencing. It is so real. It is so real. And there's nothing that we can do about it. There is nothing that we can do about it. They rejected right up until the end. And there's, it's just one of those things. But, you know, really at that point, what I really think, there are moments where it's like, within that transitioning phase, there are moments where you can actually see them, and it's like they have a moment of peace, and a moment, not necessarily peace, but a moment of clarity, where they're actually able to reflect on their lives. And you can see it in their eyes. You can tell when it's happening, and you can see the sadness, because I mean, this is something that they can't control. For narcissists, one thing that is so important is to control everything. But this is something that none of us have control over at all. And so it's always going to be like, for them, it's like, I can't do anything now. They realize that they're not this demigod that they swore up and down that they were. And they know that now, because now their spirit man is becoming awake, and their flesh is dying. And the more the flesh dies, the more the spirit awakens, and they become more in tune with the spiritual world, because that is where they are transitioning to. Wherever, whatever awaits for them, that's their destiny to face. And so one thing I want to make and clear is that even the way you and I, the way we live our lives, and the way that we carry ourselves, and even how we consider these creatures and everybody else, remember that we too are going to have a fate that we have to answer to. So, always be mindful of that. it's nothing but grace. It's nothing but mercy that keeps us. And so never ever become too big that you forget that, hey, I too need to repent. Hey, I too need more mercy and more grace. And I need to hold on to his unchanging hand, because those moments are real. And we can't predict how it happens, when it happens. The Bible talks about the wise and the dumb virgins. We got to be wise at all times, and be fully prepared. If one thing that 2020 has taught us is that life is so fragile, and we're all on borrowed time. None of us know the day nor the hour, but we are all going to answer that call. And so, it's just so important that you live your life properly. And so, part of that properly, or, authentically, is that we deal with these things, we deal with this abuse that you faced. And part of it for many of us, and it was my story too, is that if it wasn't that, this for me, these relationships that I was getting into, it was a symptom of a problem. It was a symptom that there was something about me that I needed to work on. And maybe for you, it's a symptom, for settling for these type of relationships. It's a symptom that maybe you need to work on something. And if you focus on that something, if you take your eyes off that narc for a moment and you work on that something, you'll find, and this is my truth, once I worked on that initial injury, my initial pain point, it actually took care of working on the issue with the narc. Even now, I don't necessarily deal with, residual issues with the narcissist so much. I mean, like, he may pop up in my life and irritate me, but I don't find myself ruminating or, dealing with emotional pain or baggage from that, because doing the inner work for my childhood injury actually helped me overcome that. What I find is that I may have to go back and do more inner child work, because that happens in stages. It's just like the cycle of grief. There are different processes, there are different stages. So I find out that I do have to every now and then go back and do some more work on that wound. And it's in those processes, or it's in that moment, it's in that time, I find, oh, guess what? This actually happened, and I get a memory, I get a reminder about something that happened in that relationship. And, I'm able to kind of do like a 2-for-1. So always, just be honest with yourself as you go through your journey of healing, so that you can get to that place, where you actually have your overall healing, because it's so important. So at Pink Girl teaches, not mental illness, narc is demon, and the narc ties its demonic soul to the target. The soul tie makes it hard to detach. It is not addiction, it is a demonic soul tie. Listen, I agree with you 100%. I no longer view it like, how it was when I came in, when I first started out. Excuse me. I don't think, I no longer consider it like that anymore. I just kind of see this as, a spiritual attack. And so what I do want to say is that, going forward, I believe most of what I will share here is always going to have this type of perspective. I will not be coming from what they say anymore, but I will go to the word and pull from there, because they're not making any sense. Excuse me.